Approximately 600 to 800 eggs are produced for each pound in weight of the female salmon. This particular hen weighed about 9 pounds and produced about 6,000 eggs. The major part of the requirement for this year, some 150,000 grubsons and 27 hens, all caught and stripped of their eggs within the space of a few days. At this stage, the fish is called a coat, and the loose folds of spare flesh will quickly pull out on its return to the water. About 50% of female salmon manage to reach the sea again, but only 5% of the male salmon survive the spawning season. As soon as possible after stripping, a male or top salmon is netted from another holding tank and held in the same manner for the male sperm to be ejected over the egg. After gentle mixing, which ensures a good distribution of sperm, the eggs are washed to remove the excess milk. Successful fertilization of over 99% is achieved. They are allowed to stand for 30 minutes, then the fertilized eggs are transferred to baskets inside the hatchery, fed with filtered river water. Each tray holds up to 10,000 eggs, which are inspected daily. Any dead or infertile ones are removed and their numbers recorded. Water enters through the transparent pipework, circulates over the eggs, and passes over the overspill weir to the tray below. Records are kept of water temperatures and flow rates during the incubation period. Over which were fertilized on November 10th became eyed in 50 days, and started to hatch 21 days later. But the exact time of eying and hatching varies from year to year according to the water temperature. Just prior to hatching, the tiny salmon starts to move, and the eye and body of the developing fish can be seen through the transparent egg shell. Immediately prior to hatching, the movement within the egg becomes more violent, the egg shell is ruptured, and the young ovum emerges. Some burst out in one quick movement, either head or tail first, whilst others take more time to fully emerge. Several vigorous shakes with long rest between are sometimes required before they completely discard the soft egg shell. For the first few weeks, the ovum absorbs nourishment from its yolk sac, and at this stage is approximately 3/4 of an inch long. Owing to its unwieldy shape, it spends most of its time on its side with only an occasional burst of activity. As the young salmon grows, it becomes darker in color due to the development of its pigment cells, and the pumping of the heart can be observed just below the head. Soon the fins develop, and as its yolk sac becomes progressively absorbed, the fish becomes more active. At this age, they swim away from life and tend to chill together in the hatching basket. Sometime before the yolk sac has completely disappeared, the young salmon ovums are moved out of the hatchery into deep fry feeding tanks. Great care is required in transporting the ovums at this stage, as they are easily damaged. Each tray and basket is carried from the hatchery to the tank, and the alevins are then gently washed out of the basket into their new environment. Once every hour during daylight, a small amount of finely minced liver is added to the water, and the current presents the small liver particles to the fish, which have instinctively positioned themselves to face the water flow. This is a critical period of development in salmon rearing, and a mortality rate of up to 12% can be expected before the fish start to feed. The tanks are cleaned each day to remove waste liver, and the number of dead fry in each tank recorded. Once the alevin have started to feed, they move off the bottom of the tank and become free swimming, usually visible just below the surface of the water. When feeding has been fully established, the alevins, now called fry, are transferred from these deep fry feeding tanks to the more shallow feeding tanks. Each of these tanks at this stage holds about 12,000 fry, which have now had a pelleted dry food added to their minced liver diet. They are gradually weaned from the liver until their diet consists entirely of the pelleted dry food. 5 months after hatching and some 2.5 inches long, the young salmon fingerlings have by now developed the dark marks on their sides, which are called palm marks. Many of the natural hazards of a young salmon's early life do not exist under hatchery conditions, and this accounts for the high survival rate of 80% at this age, compared with the estimated 2% survival rate under natural liver conditions. Some of the young salmon grow more rapidly than others, and to prevent the larger fish from taking and nipping the fins of the smaller ones, and also to allow more room for the growing fish, the salmon are graded twice according to size during their first season. They are nurtured and placed in the wooden frame graders, which allow the smaller fish to pass through to the compartment below. The larger fish are then netted out of the top grader and counted either by hand after the fish has been anesthetized, or by predetermining the weight of a known number of fish, so that successive batches have only to be weighed for a fairly accurate estimate to be made. During October and November, the principal grading of the stock takes place. The graded fingerlings are moved out of the Swedish tanks into the larger Swedish pond, which, like all the other tanks, have a constant supply of liberator running through them. Any salmon surplus to the hatchery's requirements are planted out in certain sections of the reservoir system from which one of their predators, the brown trout, has been removed. Once in the pond, the fingerlings soon settle down and continue feeding throughout the winter. During their second year of life in the pond, until they migrate to smoke, the young salmon grow best if they are supplied with a small amount of food at frequent intervals. A water-driven automatic feeder has been developed at this hatchery, which can be controlled to supply the pelleted dry food at any predetermined rate. As the fish grow and greater amounts of food are required, the smaller capacity feeders are replaced by larger ones. In the spring of the year in which they are going to migrate, the young salmon turn silver in color, and as the urge to migrate becomes stronger, they take to swimming with the current in the pond more and more. Before these young salmon, now called smoke, are put into the river to make their journey down to the sea, and in order to determine some of their movements in the rivers and seas during their development and maturity, each fish at this hatchery has a plastic identification tag attached by a dark and silver The anesthetized fish is measured, and a hypodermic needle inserted just in front of the dorsal fin. The tag wire is placed in the open end of the needle, which is then withdrawn from the smoke, bringing with it the tag wire. The two free ends of the wire are twisted together and trimmed. 10,000 smokes were tagged in March and April, and anglers all over the world helped to gather important information by returning the tags taken from any fish they catch to the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries in London. After tagging, the smoke are placed into one of the cubic tons or tanks and are not released into the river for at least 24 hours. This ensures that they are fully recovered prior to their embarking on their migration to the sea. "5,000 of these were stocked into the River Thames and would have approximately 67 miles of river to negotiate before they reach the mouth of the Esk in the southern estuary. A second batch of 5,000 were assisted on their journey to the sea by being transported in oxygen tanks and placed in the river 50 miles nearer the sea and only 17 miles from the river mouth. It is hoped that by subsequently comparing the recaptures of adult fish from these two batches, it will be possible to establish which of the two tanks is the most suitable. Once in the sea, the fish will remain feeding and growing between 1.5 and 3.5 years. The life cycle is complete when the adult fish will return to their parent river to spawn.